As the strike at York University approaches the 6-week mark, the university is offering up a potential new solution. In a letter released late yesterday afternoon, the President and Vice Chancellor of York, Rhonda Lenton, called on the union to accept binding arbitration. That would mean the dispute would be settled by a neutral third party. Over 3,700 members of CUPE Local 3903, including teaching assistants, contract faculty, and graduate assistants, have been off the job since the 5th of March. Thousands of students have been out of class. In just a few moments, we'll speak with a representative from the union. But first, the President of York, Rhonda Lenton, joined us. Rhonda, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
Why are you asking for binding arbitration?
Because we bargained in good faith for 6 months. CUPE, we also tried to see if the membership wanted an opportunity to vote. We had a supervised vote. CUPE has rejected overwhelmingly offers which we know that lead in the sector. At this point, we tried to go back to bargaining March 20th. At this point, binding arbitration is the best, fastest way to get a fair deal and to end the strike and to bring all of our students back into the classroom as quickly as possible.
The fastest would be key here. You have said that if the strike doesn't end by the 20th of April, you're going to have to start using the summer as a way to complete this term. What does that mean for students?
Well, it means for students that were planning, that had jobs, international students who want to return home, students who had placements are applying to graduate school. We need to do everything that we can to get all of the students back. If we could get all classes running back up by April 23rd, that's right after the current examination period is finished, it means that we could save the year. If this goes on much longer, then students will have to figure out and change all of those plans. We're obviously doing any kind of remediation that we can, but it will have that much more of an impact, including potentially losing one of our summer terms.
What is it that can't be agreed upon at the table? What to you is the issue that is holding this up?
People sometimes have the mistaken view that this is about money, that we could just give more money to CUPE, then that would bring them all back back to teaching. And unfortunately, for some time now, over that whole period of bargaining, CUPE 3903 came in with originally 101 proposals, but they continue to have about 31 what they call red line issues. And these red line issues, which they've not shown any indication that they're prepared to move off of, include requirements that the university cannot agree to. They include demands around a significant number of our full-time tenure stream appointments, waiving the hiring practices. Organizations are not going to waive huge numbers of their hiring practices. It means requiring our master's students, our graduate students, to do non-academic work for their financial support when York is giving them a straight-up fellowship. Our graduate students have told us, our master's students, that they prefer just receiving the fellowship. The university cannot be told that it has to waive our basic hiring practices or force students to work when they are happy with the fellowship model.
In the meantime, students, and we've heard from some of them on this program, pay a lot of money to go to York University. They don't think they're getting their money's worth because this is another strike at the university. What do you say to those students?
We are obviously very upset. Any strike at all, anything that interrupts our students' progress is one strike too many. And we are working very, very hard with all of our students to figure out what are the remediation strategies. How can we finish the year when the strike is over?
But what does this do? What does this do, if I might? What does this do to the reputation of the university? This is the second strike in 36 months. It's the third strike in 10 years. What does it do to the reputation of York?
Yeah, you know what? The fact of the matter is that York University has been on a trajectory of really strengthening its reputation internationally. It's a wonderful university with top quality programs. And so does this hurt the reputation of the university? As I said before, we don't want to see any labor disruption. We don't want to see any of our students disrupted whatsoever. And that's why we really believe that binding arbitration now for everyone to come back for the sake of our students. We obviously have completely different foundational principles that are informing our bargaining position.
Right.
and therefore binding arbitration is the fastest way to get everybody back and fairness to our students and putting our students first.
Rhonda, good to speak with you. Rhonda Lenton is the President and Vice Chancellor of York University. She has asked the union to agree to binding arbitration to end a 6-week-old strike. Lina, Nasr, a PhD student at York University, member of CUPE 3903's bargaining team, is with me in studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Will your union accept binding arbitration?
Binding arbitration is a option of also last resort. We want to see York actually go through negotiations. This is not a new offer from York. Since day one of negotiations, they have pushed for binding arbitration and neglected to actually bargain. In the 6 weeks of this strike, they have only met with us once. So where's the accountability from York for actually coming, trying to meet, making an effort before we see that option?
But the offer that they've put out is for binding arbitration. So is that something now that the union says, no, we're not interested in, that you want other steps before you get to that point?
We want York to not be off the hook for negotiations. They need to meet with us. They need to make an effort to actually negotiate. In 6 weeks of the strike, they have only come out once. And at the end of that session, they walked away from that table, even though movement was made. And there was actual progress being made in that meeting. They decided that that is not the avenue that they wanted to pursue. That is not acceptable for York in a 6-week-long strike to only sit down with us on one occasion.
I was going to say, why can't this be agreed to? This is the same question that I asked Rhonda Lenton. Why can't this be agreed to at the bargaining table?
There is no reason why it can't be agreed to at the bargaining table. We are saying that we aren't as far apart as they believe we are. There's room for movement, but that needs to be happening in negotiations. How is it that we've gotten this far without anything from York? And that we have to come to these places to hear from our own institution. Where have they been in the last 6 weeks to meet with us? And, at this point, our major ask is just meet with us.
What about the students who find themselves wondering whether they're going to finish their year, who've paid money to go to York and now don't know what's going to happen? What about them?
I think we understand the students' frustration more than anything. We are also frustrated. I myself am a student. I can't believe that it's been going on for this long. I would like to see this resolved, and I would prefer to be back in the classroom. I'd prefer to be, finishing out the year with my students.
Some of them might say that if you accepted binding arbitration, that this would end sooner rather than later, that by saying you want more negotiation, this could drag it out longer.
I think that sets a bad example. I think it says that York University does not need to negotiate. They do not need to meet with us. They don't need to make an effort. They can, avoid the union, avoid any kind of talks, and then come up with this at the 6-week mark to say that, I think it's time for somebody else to handle this issue.
30 seconds left. Same question that I asked Rhonda, which is, doesn't this just drag the reputation of the university through the mud again? That 2 strikes in 36 months, 3 strikes in 10 years. People are, wondering what's going on at the school.
I think it does. I think it does hurt York's reputation. And I think York, though, has a responsibility to all of us. So us as its students, its employees, the undergraduate students, to actually try and come to a resolution. They have that responsibility, and I don't think that they've been meeting that.
Rhonda, you're still listening to this. Just before I let you go, do you have any optimism that this is going to be resolved anytime soon?
I'm very concerned. The fact of the matter is that we did bargain in good faith for 6 months. We came back to the bargaining table again on March 20th. Throughout this whole last couple of weeks, while we did the supervised vote, at any time, CUPE 3903 could have said, we are prepared to show you the path. We are prepared to compromise on these red line issues. We continue to come back and not to hear any movement on requests that the university cannot agree to for the long-term academic integrity and reputation of the university. So I really, again, beseech CUPE 3903 to rethink the request for us all to come together, agree to binding arbitration, let our students, 50,000 students, finish their academic year.
We'll have to let it go. Thank you very much, Rhonda Lenton, President of York, and Lina Nasr, a member of CUPE 3903's bargaining team.